I woke up in a stranger's body, in a world that wasn't mine, with a name I didn't choose, Ethan Harper. My last memory was falling asleep with a dog-eared paperback, a steamy gay romance novel I'd grabbed for a laugh, only to find myself inside it, staring at a Manhattan skyline I'd never seen in real life. By the third day, I realized I wasn't just a bystander in this story, I was the protagonist. And every man in this glittering, cutthroat city seemed hell-bent on winning my heart or breaking it. The novel, Hearts in the Heat, was a melodramatic whirlwind of passion and betrayal, where Ethan Harper, a shy barista with a mysterious past, becomes the obsession of four wildly different men: a brooding billionaire, a charming artist, a ruthless gang leader, and a soft-spoken bookstore owner. I wasn't ready for the chaos of being Ethan, especially not when I caught my reflection: hazel eyes, tousled brown hair, and a smile that apparently made grown men weak. My first instinct was to hide, to survive this insane plot without getting tangled in its web of desire and danger. But the story had other plans. It started at Brood Awakening, the cozy coffee shop where Ethan worked. I was fumbling with an espresso machine, still adjusting to this new reality, when Caleb Monroe walked in. The artist. In the novel, he was the one who painted Ethan's portrait in secret, his brushstrokes hiding a love he could never confess. In person, Caleb was even more disarming: golden curls, paint-splattered jeans, and green eyes that seemed to see right through me. "Medium latte. Extra foam," he said, his voice low, like he was sharing a secret. Our fingers brushed as I handed him the cup, and I swear the air crackled. I wanted to run. This wasn't my life. But his smile pinned me in place. "Ethan, right?" he asked, leaning against the counter. "I've seen you around. You've got this glow." I froze. Was he flirting already? In the book, Caleb was sweet but persistent, his charm a slow burn that made Ethan fall hard. I wasn't Ethan, though I was just a guy trying not to die in a plot where jealousy turned lovers into enemies. "Just doing my job," I muttered, ducking my head. But Caleb lingered, sketching idly on a napkin, his eyes flicking to me every few seconds. I felt the story pulling me in, and I hated it. That night, I barricaded myself in Ethan's tiny apartment, flipping through the novel I'd somehow brought with me. The pages were worn, the prose over the top, but it was my only guide. According to the book, Caleb was just the beginning. Next would be Julian Voss, the billionaire who owned half the city and saw Ethan as his next acquisition. Then there was Marcus Kane, the gang leader whose dangerous allure was matched only by his temper. And finally, Noah Ellis, the quiet bookstore owner who loved Ethan from afar but never dared to act. Each man was a thread in a tapestry of drama, and I was the knot at the center, destined to unravel. I didn't want their love. I wanted out. But the novel's rules were clear. Ethan's choices drove the story. And if I didn't play along, the plot could twist in ways I couldn't predict. The book described Ethan as kind but naive, his heart a battleground for these men's desires. I wasn't naive, but I was terrified. What if I couldn't change the story? What if I was doomed to follow its script? The next morning, I was back at the coffee shop, bleary-eyed and on edge. Caleb was there again, this time with a sketchbook. "Mind if I draw you?" he asked, already penciling the curve of my jaw. My stomach flipped. His attention felt real, not just some plot device. And that scared me more than anything. "I'm not that interesting," I said, trying to deflect. But Caleb's laugh was warm, disarming. "You're wrong about that, Ethan. You're different. Different." He had no idea. Before I could respond, the door swung open, and the air shifted. Julian Voss. Even without the book, I'd have known him instantly. Tailored suit, sharp jawline, and eyes like a storm ready to break. The billionaire. In the novel, he was cold, calculating, but dangerously magnetic. He strode to the counter, ignoring the line, and fixed his gaze on me. Black coffee. No sugar, he said, his voice smooth as silk. And your name? My heart pounded. This was its second suitor. Right on cue. I mumbled my name, shoving the coffee at him. His fingers grazed mine. Deliberate. And he smirked. I'll be seeing you, Ethan. I wanted to scream. 2 men. 2 days. And I was already drowning. The novel's plot was unfolding faster than I could handle. And I had no idea how to stop it. Caleb was still there, watching Julian with a flicker of something jealousy. I didn't have time to process it before Marcus Kane walked in. Leather jacket, scarred knuckles, and a grin that promised trouble. The gang leader. Well, he drawled, leaning close. You're even prettier than they say. My blood ran cold. 3 out of 4. And I was already losing control. That night, I sat on Ethan's fire escape, staring at the city lights. The novel was in my lap, its pages mocking me. I wasn't just living Ethan's life, I was feeling his emotions, his fears, his pull toward these men. Caleb's warmth, Julian's intensity, Marcus's danger. They were real, and they were tearing me apart. I didn't know how to survive this story, but I knew one thing. I couldn't let it consume me. I had to find a way to rewrite the rules, to make my own choices, before the novel's ending tragic or not swallowed me whole. I spent the next week dodging the plot like it was a minefield. Every shift at Brood Awakening felt like stepping into a lion's den. With Caleb, Julian, and Marcus circling closer, I kept the novel tucked in my apron, rereading passages to predict their moves. But the story was relentless. It wasn't just their attention, it was the way my heart betrayed me. Fluttering at Caleb's shy smiles or Julian's piercing stares. I wasn't supposed to feel this. I was supposed to survive. Caleb became a regular, sketching me during slow hours. His drawings were intimate, capturing details I didn't even notice about myself, the way my lips quirked when I was nervous, the freckle on my wrist. You're my muse, he said one afternoon, his voice soft but heavy with meaning. I wanted to tell him to stop, to leave me out of his art and his heart. But his sincerity disarmed me. In the novel, Ethan fell for Caleb's quiet passion first, and I could feel that pull tugging at me, real and dangerous. I'm nobody's muse, I said, forcing a laugh. But his green eyes held mine, and for a moment, I forgot I was fighting a script. Julian was less subtle. He started sending gifts to the coffee shop, expensive pastries, a sleek leather jacket for chilly nights. Each came with a note, his handwriting sharp and commanding. Dinner. Friday. I'll send a car. I ignored them, but he didn't stop. One evening, he waited outside the shop, leaning against a black Bentley. You're avoiding me, he said, his voice low, almost amused. I don't like being avoided. My pulse raced. In the book, Julian's pursuit was relentless, his wealth a weapon to get what he wanted. I'm not avoiding you, I lied. I'm just busy. He stepped closer, his cologne sharp and dizzying. You'll make time, Ethan. Everyone does. Marcus was the wild card. He didn't bother with gifts or charma, just showed up, all swagger and menace. One night, he cornered me in the alley behind the shop, his breath hot against my ear. You're causing a stir, pretty boy, he said, his hand brushing my arm. People talk about you. Makes me curious. In the novel, Marcus was unpredictable, his attraction to Ethan a mix of possessiveness and thrill. I shoved him back, my voice steady despite my fear. I'm not here for your curiosity. He laughed, but his eyes darkened. We'll see. Then there was Noah. I met him by accident, ducking into his bookstore. Pages and Promises. To escape Marcus one rainy afternoon. Noah Ellis was exactly as the novel described, soft-spoken, with warm brown eyes and a cardigan that smelled faintly of old books. He offered me tea, his hands trembling slightly as he poured. "You're Ethan, from the coffee shop," he said, almost shy. "I've heard about you." The novel painted Noah as the safe haven, the one who loved Ethan without demands. But I knew better. Even his kindness was part of the story's trap. I tried to keep my distance from all of them, but the city felt smaller every day. Caleb's sketches piled up, each one more personal. Julian's gifts grew bolder, a watch worth more than my rent, a reservation at a rooftop restaurant. Marcus left cryptic notes tucked into my apron. "You can't run forever." Noah started lingering at the coffee shop, recommending books with titles that felt too pointed, like Love in the Shadows. I was drowning in their attention, and the novel's plot was tightening its grip. One night, I broke. I was alone in Ethan's apartment. The novel opened to a scene where Ethan kissed Caleb under a streetlight, the first step toward the story's climax. I hurled the book across the room. "I'm not him," I shouted to no one. But the feelings were real: Caleb's warmth, Julian's intensity, Marcus's danger, Noah's quiet hope. They were chipping away at me, making me question who I was. Was I still the guy who'd fallen asleep with a paperback? Or was I becoming Ethan? Desperate, I decided to confront the story head-on. I went to Caleb's art studio, a loft filled with canvases and the smell of turpentine. He was painting when I arrived, his shirt flecked with blue. "Ethan," he said, startled, his face lighting up. I didn't expect. I cut him off. "Why me? Why are you so obsessed?" He blinked, hurt flashing in his eyes. "I'm not obsessed. I see you. You're real, Ethan. Not like the others." His words hit hard, echoing the novel's description of his love: pure, unshakable. But I couldn't trust it. "You don't know me," I said, turning to leave. He grabbed my wrist, gentle but firm. "Then let me." I fled, my heart pounding. The novel was winning. Every step I took pulled me deeper into its pages, and I didn't know how to fight it. Worse, I was starting to feel something for Caleb, something that wasn't in the script. If I let myself fall, would I lose myself entirely? Or could I rewrite this story, not as Ethan Harper, but as me? The city was a pressure cooker, and I was at its center. I tried to outrun the novel's plot, but it was like fighting gravity. Every choice dragged me back to Caleb, Julian, Marcus, and Noah. Their feelings, their rivalries, were starting to bleed into my reality. And I was losing the line between who I was and who Ethan was supposed to be. Caleb's words in his studio haunted me. "You're real, Ethan. Not like the others." Did he know something? Was he aware of the novel's script? Or was he just caught in its pull like me? I wanted to believe him, to lean into the warmth of his gaze. But the book warned of heartbreak. Ethan's love for Caleb sparked jealousy in Julian and Marcus, leading to a confrontation that left Ethan broken. I couldn't let that happen. Julian upped the ante. One morning, a sleek black envelope arrived at the coffee shop, containing an invitation to a gala at his penthouse. "Be my guest, Ethan. You won't regret it." I wanted to burn it. But the novel's plot was clear. Ethan attended, dazzled by Julian's world of wealth and power, only to be caught in a dangerous game. I went, not because I wanted to, but because I needed to understand Julian's hold over me. The gala was a glittering maze of chandeliers and champagne, with Julian at its center, commanding the room. He found me instantly, his hand resting on my lower back as he guided me through the crowd. You look like you belong here, he murmured, his breath warm against my ear. I didn't. But his confidence, his certainty, made me question myself. Marcus crashed the gala. Of course. In the novel, he was always where he wasn't wanted. His presence a spark in a powder keg. He cornered me on a balcony. His leather jacket a stark contrast to the tuxedos around us. Julian's playing you, he said, his voice rough. He doesn't love you. He owns you. My stomach twisted. The novel described Marcus as volatile. But his warning felt real. Not scripted. And what do you want? I shot back. He smirked, stepping closer. You. But I don't play nice like him. Before I could respond, Julian appeared, his eyes cold. Leave. Kane. This isn't your world. The tension between them crackled, and I realized I was the fuse. I escaped to Noah's bookstore the next day, seeking refuge. He was there, shelving books, his quiet presence a balm after the chaos. Rough night? He asked, handing me a mug of chamomile tea. I nodded, too tired to lie. Noah didn't push, just sat with me, reading aloud from a poetry collection. His voice was steady, grounding, and for the first time, I felt safe. But the novel's shadow loomed. Ethan's connection with Noah was sweet but fleeting, overshadowed by the other's intensity. Why are you so kind to me? I asked, my voice breaking. Noah's eyes softened. Because you deserve it, Ethan, even if you don't believe it. The more I resisted the plot, the more it fought back. Caleb invited me to an art gallery opening, his paintings on display. I went, hoping to find answers. His work was breathtaking, vibrant, raw, with one piece dominating the room, a portrait of me, my face lit by a streetlight, eyes full of longing. The crowd murmured, but Caleb only saw me. It's you, he said, stepping close. It's always been you. My heart ached. I wanted to kiss him, to let the story win. But Marcus's warning echoed in my mind. I left without a word, my chest tight with guilt. Back at Ethan's apartment, I pored over the novel, searching for a way out. The pages described a climactic fight between Julian and Marcus, with Ethan caught in the crossfire. Caleb and Noah were collateral damage, their love for Ethan twisted by jealousy. I couldn't let it happen. I started writing in the margins, scribbling my own choices, my own ending. But the words blurred, as if the book was fighting back. A knock at my door startled me. It was Julian, his face unreadable. We need to talk. Ethan. Now. He drove me to his penthouse, the city sprawling below us. I know you're scared, he said, pouring whiskey into a glass. But you can't run from this from us. His intensity was suffocating, but there was something else in his eyes, something vulnerable. In the novel, Julian's love was possessive, but this felt different, like he was reaching for something real. I don't belong to you, I said, my voice shaking. He stepped closer, his hand cupping my face. Then tell me who you belong to. I couldn't answer. Not when part of me wanted Caleb. Part of me feared Marcus. And part of me craved Noah's quiet strength. I was unraveling. The novel was a cage, and I was trapped. My feelings for these men blurring the line between fiction and reality. I had to break free. But how? The story was rushing toward its climax, and I was running out of time. The novel's climax was closing in, and I could feel its weight pressing down on me. The city pulsed with tension, as if it knew the story was about to explode. I tried to rewrite the plot, to carve my own path. But Caleb, Julian, Marcus, and Noah were pulling me in every direction. Their desires a tangled knot I couldn't escape. It started with a fight. I was closing the coffee shop when Marcus appeared, his face bruised, his eyes wild. "Julian's men came for me," he said, grabbing my arm. "Because of you." My blood ran cold. In the novel, Julian and Marcus clashed over Ethan, their rivalry erupting in violence that left Ethan hospitalized. "This isn't my fault," I snapped, pulling free. But Marcus's gaze softened, almost pleading. "Run, Ethan, before they destroy you." Before I could respond, Caleb arrived, his sketchbook tucked under his arm. He saw Marcus and froze, his jaw tight. "What's he doing here?" The air crackled with jealousy, and I realized the novel was playing out exactly as written. I fled to Noah's bookstore, my only safe haven. He was closing up, his cardigan sleeves rolled up, his eyes warm but worried. "You're shaking," he said, pulling me into a hug. His touch was gentle, grounding, but it stirred something in Mesomethyng the novel hadn't predicted. I wanted to stay there, to forget the chaos. But the book's ending loomed. Ethan was supposed to choose one of them, sparking a chain of events that ended in tragedy. I couldn't let that happen. "Noah," I whispered, "what if I don't want to choose?" He looked at me, his eyes searching. "Then don't. Be you, Ethan. Not what they want." His words cracked something open in me. I wasn't just Ethan Harper, the novel's pawn. I was Mesamion with my own will, my own heart. I grabbed the novel from my bag, its pages worn and heavy. I tore out the final chapter, the one where Ethan's choice led to betrayal and loss. The act felt reckless, liberating. Noah watched, his expression a mix of awe and fear. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Rewriting the story," I said, my voice steady for the first time. I confronted Julian next. His penthouse was a fortress of glass and steel, but he looked vulnerable when I arrived. His tie loosened, his eyes tired. "I don't want your world," I told him. "I don't want to be owned." He flinched, as if I'd struck him. "I don't want to own you," he said, his voice raw. "I want you to choose me." In the novel, Julian's love was a power play, but this felt different, like he was breaking free of the script too. I shook my head. "I'm not choosing anyone." Caleb was harder. I found him at his studio, painting furiously, his canvas a storm of color. "I can't do this," I said, my voice breaking. "I can't be your muse." He dropped his brush, his face crumpling. "I love you, Ethan. Not the idea of you." His words hit like a wave, and I felt myself waver. In the novel, Caleb's love was Ethan's salvation, but it came at a cost. I wanted to believe him, to fall into his arms, but I couldn't risk losing myself. "I need to be me first," I said, tears stinging my eyes. He nodded, his hand brushing mine, a silent promise to wait. Marcus was the last. I found him in a dive bar, nursing a drink. "Your trouble," he said, his grin tired. "But you're worth it." I didn't flinch this time. "I'm not your prize," I said. "I'm not anyone's." He studied me, then nodded, as if seeing me for the first time. "Fair enough, Ethan. Live your life." It was the closest he'd come to letting go, and I felt a weight lift. The novel's ending was supposed to be a choice, a dramatic declaration of love that tore the men apart. Instead, I chose myself. I quit the coffee shop, moved out of Ethan's apartment, and started writing my own story, not in the novel's margins, but in a new notebook, one free of its rules. I didn't know if I'd ever see Caleb, Julian, Marcus, or Noah again, but I knew I'd carry them with Meter passion, their flaws, their humanity. Months later, I was working at Pages and Promises, shelving books beside Noah. We hadn't spoken of love, but his quiet presence was enough. Caleb sent me a sketch in the Mila simple drawing of a fire escape. With a note, for when you're ready. Julian stopped by once. His smile softer, less demanding. Even Marcus left a message. A simple stay free. Ethan. The novel's world was still out there. But I wasn't its prisoner anymore. I wasn't reborn to be fought over. I was reborn to live. To love on my own terms. To write an ending that was mine. And in that choice, I found something the novel could never predict, myself.